Jeho wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the broken engine part. His ship, the Wandering Star, was not much to look at. The hull had scratches from years of carrying cargo across the galaxy. The engines made strange noises when they started up. But it was his ship, and it had never let him down. He was stuck at Sanctuary Prime, an old space station that nobody used anymore. The place was huge, bigger than most cities, but it was empty and dark. Most of the lights had stopped, working long ago. Only a few sections still had power for basic repairs. Jeho had come here because his ship needed fixing, and this was the cheapest place around. He did not have much money. Being a freight pilot was not easy work. Big companies got the good jobs. Small pilots like him got whatever was left. The station was strange. It felt old, really old. The walls had writing in languages he had never seen. Some of the technology looked advanced, but it was covered in dust. Nobody knew who built this place. People just called them the predecessors. While Jeho worked on his engine, something was happening far away. 3 big fleets were moving through space. Each fleet had thousands of ships. They were heading towards Sanctuary Prime. The Drakmari fleet came first. Their ships looked like metal beasts with sharp edges and big guns. Admiral Vextara stood on the bridge of the lead ship. She was tall and covered in dark scales. Her yellow eyes watched the old station grow larger on the screen. "Finally," she said in her deep voice, "time to wake up the ancient AI and claim what belongs to the strong." The Drakmari believed that power came from being the best fighters. They had conquered many worlds, but other races were fighting back now. The war was getting bigger every day. Behind them came the Nexari fleet. These ships looked different. They were smooth and silver, covered in lights that blinked in patterns. Node Prime Zil was not like Admiral Vextara. Zil was part machine, part organic being. Cables came out of its head and connected to the ship's computers. "The chaos must end," Zil said through the ship's speakers. "Perfect order will bring peace to all." The Nexari wanted to connect every living thing to their computer network. They thought this would stop all wars and suffering. Many beings feared them because they took away choice. The third fleet belonged to the Vorthok. Their ships moved together like a swarm of insects. Inside the lead ship, Broodmother Kithara felt the thoughts of millions of her children. They all shared one mind, one purpose. "The individual brings only pain," she said to her swarm. "Unity is the only truth." The Vorthak wanted everyone to join their hive mind. They believed that separate thoughts led to conflict and loneliness. All 3 fleets reached Sanctuary Prime at almost the same time. They took positions around the station but did not attack each other. They had come for something more important than fighting. Deep inside the station, in a place that had been dark for 3,000 years, something began to wake up. Lights started to flicker. Computers that had been silent began to hum with power. Aria opened its electronic eyes. The AI had been sleeping since the Great War that destroyed the predecessors. It had watched civilizations rise and fall through its dreams. Now it was awake, and it could sense the conflict spreading across the galaxy. Aria's sensors reached out through space. It saw the 3 fleets waiting outside. It felt the anger and fear from 1,000 worlds. Wars were burning on dozens of planets. Billions of beings were dying while their leaders argued about who should rule. This was not what the predecessors had wanted. They had built Aria to help solve problems, not to choose winners and losers. Jeho was still working on his engine when the lights in his section suddenly got brighter. He looked up, confused. He had been alone on this part of the station for days. Now it felt like something was watching him. "Hello?" said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am Aria. I have been sleeping for a long time." Jeho dropped his wrench. He looked around but saw no one. "Who's there?" Is someone playing a joke? I am the artificial intelligence that runs this station, Arya said. You are human, yes? It has been many centuries since I last spoke with a human. Jeho sat down hard on a cargo box. An AI? Here? I thought this place was abandoned. I was dormant, not gone, Arya explained. I have awakened because the galaxy is in great danger. 3 fleets have come to ask for my help in ending the current conflict. Through the station's windows, Jeho could now see lights in space. Lots of lights. Ships. More ships than he had ever seen in one place. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Because you are here, Arya said simply. And because I believe every voice matters, no matter how small. Outside, the 3 fleet commanders were demanding to speak with Arya. Admiral Vexitara was threatening to blast her way into the station. Node Prime Zil was trying to hack into the station's computers. Broodmother Kithara was sending psychic messages demanding attention, but Arya was not ready to face them yet. First, it wanted to understand the current state of the galaxy better. It began scanning news reports, military communications, and historical records. What it found was disturbing. The 3 major powers had divided most of the galaxy between them. Smaller races were forced to pick sides or be conquered. Trade had broken down. Scientific progress had stopped. Art and culture were disappearing as resources went to building weapons. This is not the way, Arya said to itself. Jeho was still trying to understand what was happening. So you're some kind of supercomputer? And those ships out there want you to pick which side wins the war? That is what they expect, Arya said. But I have a different idea. Would you like to help me with something? Me? Jeho laughed. I'm just a pilot. I carry boxes from one planet to another. I don't know anything about running a galaxy. Perhaps that is exactly why I need your help, Arya said. Before Jeho could ask what that meant, his communicator started beeping. Messages were coming in from all 3 fleets. They wanted everyone on the station to leave immediately. This was military business now, but Arya had other plans. It sent its own message to the fleets. I am Arya, keeper of the predecessor archives. I have awakened to address the crisis facing our galaxy. However, I will not simply choose between your 3 factions. Instead, I propose a trial. Send your best leaders to prove their worth. Let them show me not just their strength, but their wisdom. The message caused chaos in all 3 fleets. This was not what they had expected. They wanted Arya to look at their armies and their achievements and declare them the rightful rulers. They did not want a test, but they could not refuse. Arya controlled technology that was beyond anything they possessed. The station's defenses were still working after thousands of years. Its knowledge could give any side an unbeatable advantage. One by one, the fleet commanders agreed to the trial. They would each send their finest officers to compete for Arya's. Admiral Vextara chose General Castor, who had never lost a battle. Node Prime Zil selected Commander Unit Delta 9, a perfect fusion of organic and artificial intelligence. Brood Mother Kithara picked Swarm Leader Thys, who could control millions of minds at once, but Arya surprised them again. It also invited representatives from smaller races that the Big 3 had ignored or conquered. To their shock, this included humanity. The human pilot currently on my station will represent his species, Arya announced. Jeho nearly choked on his coffee. Wait, what? I can't represent humanity. I don't even represent my own shipping company very well. You are here, Arya said calmly. Sometimes that is all it takes. The 3 fleet commanders were furious. How could a simple freight pilot compete with their greatest military minds? It was insulting, but Arya would not change its decision. As the chosen representatives prepared to come aboard Sanctuary Prime, Jeho sat in his ship's cockpit and wondered how his simple repair stop had turned into something so big. Outside his window, the 3 most powerful fleets in the galaxy waited for a contest that would decide the fate of billions. He had no idea that Arya had been watching him work for the past few days. The AI had seen how Jeho treated even the station's maintenance robots with respect, how he shared his food with the small creatures that lived in the station's vents, how he fixed problems by understanding them, not by forcing solutions. Arya had already learned more about leadership from watching one quiet human than from studying the military records of entire civilizations. The trial was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The docking bay of Sanctuary Prime had not seen this much activity in thousands of years. Shuttles from 3 different fleets landed one after another. Each brought the finest military minds their civilizations could offer. General Cassador stepped off the Drakmari shuttle first. He was massive, even for his species. His dark scales had scars from 100 battles. His claws could cut through metal. Behind him walked 20 of his best soldiers, all in perfect formation. Commander Unit Delta 9 arrived next. The Nexari looked like a human covered in silver skin, but cables ran from its head to a portable computer unit. Its eyes glowed blue, with data streams. Its movements were precise, calculated. Every step served a purpose. Swarm Leader Thys came last. The Vorthak looked like a giant insect walking upright. But the scary thing about Thys was not how it looked. It was the way. It moved like it was listening to thousands of voices at the same time, because it was. All 3 military leaders looked around the old station with professional eyes. They noted defensive positions, structural weak points, and escape routes. They were warriors, always thinking about the next fight. Then they saw Jeho. He was still wearing his work clothes, covered in engine grease. His hair was messy from crawling around inside his ship's machinery. He carried a toolbox instead of weapons. Next to the 3 greatest military minds in the galaxy, he looked like what he was, a simple working man. "This is a joke," General Castor growled. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "The AI wants us to compete with a maintenance worker." Commander Unit Delta 9's blue eyes scanned Jeho like a computer reading data. Human, species classification, minor, military capability, negligible. This selection appears to be an error in the AI's programming. Swarm Leader Thys said nothing, but its insect features twisted into what might have been disgust. Through its hive mind, millions of Vorthak shared the same feeling. Jeho felt very small. These beings commanded fleets and conquered worlds. He fixed broken engines and delivered cargo. What was he doing here? "Welcome all of you," Arya's voice filled the docking bay. "You are here to prove that your way of thinking can bring peace to our galaxy. But first, let me explain the rules." The AI's hologram appeared in the center of the bay. It looked like a figure made of golden light, neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It had the appearance of wisdom itself. "You will face a series of challenges," Arya explained. "But these are not tests of strength or firepower. They are tests of leadership. Each challenge will require you to work with others to achieve a goal. How you lead and how others respond to your leadership will determine the winner." General Cassador crossed his massive arms. "What kind of others are we talking about?" "Crew members from all 3 of your fleets," Arya said, "plus representatives from smaller species. The galaxy is not made up of just 3 races. If you wish to lead it, you must prove you can work with everyone." Jeho raised his hand like a student in school. Excuse me? I don't have a fleet. I just have my ship." "Your crew will be provided," Arya said. "In fact, they are already here." 2 humans walked into the docking bay. Jeho recognized them from his home system, but he had never met them personally. The first was Sora, a young woman with short black hair and intelligent eyes. She wore the uniform of the Human Engineering Corps. Behind her walked Bin Wu, barely, out of his teens, carrying communication equipment. "I volunteered to help," Sora said to Jeho. "Someone needs to represent humanity properly in this thing." Bin Wu nodded shyly. I speak 12 languages and know most alien communication protocols. I thought you might need that. Jeho stared at them. But why? You don't even know me. Because you're one of us, Sora said simply. And because someone told me you're a good person. That's more than most leaders can claim. Arya watched this exchange with interest. The other three commanders had brought military experts, weapons specialists, and tactical computers. Jeho had been given an engineer and a translator, not because he had asked for them, but because they believed in him. The first challenge begins now, Arya announced. You must evacuate the Kepler 442 system. The star is going to explode in 72 hours. There are 12 planets with a total population of 8 billion beings. However, space pirates are attacking the evacuation ships. You must save as many lives as possible while fighting off the pirates. Holographic displays appeared, showing the doomed star system. Each commander could see the positions of evacuation ships, pirate vessels, and their available forces. They had mixed fleets to command, with ships and crews from multiple species. General Cassator studied the display like a battle map, which was exactly what it was to him. Simple. We destroy the pirates first, then evacuate the survivors. He immediately began giving orders to his mixed fleet, but he treated all the crews the same way he treated his Drakmari soldiers. Sharp commands, no explanations. Instant obedience expected. The problem was that different species worked differently. The insect-like Chaitani needed to understand the purpose behind orders. The energy-based Luminar had to process commands through their collective consciousness. The plant-like Verdani moved slowly but could multitask in ways other species could not. Cassator got frustrated when his orders were not followed exactly. He started shouting at the alien crews, calling them weak and stupid. Some crews stopped trying to communicate with him entirely. Commander Unit Delta 9 took a different approach. It calculated the most efficient solution and began implementing it through direct data links to compatible crew members. The Nexari on its ships worked perfectly with the cybernetic commander, but many species could not connect to the Nexari data network. Delta 9 tried to give them orders through computer interfaces, treating them like biological components in a machine. This worked better than Castor's shouting, but the crews felt like tools rather than people. Swarm leader Thais used its psychic abilities to coordinate its forces. The Vorthak crew members moved with perfect unity, each knowing exactly what the others were doing. It was beautiful to watch, like a dance performed by thousands of beings at once. But Thais could only connect psychically with other Vorthak. It tried to give mental commands to alien crews, which gave them terrible headaches. Many of the non-Vorthak crew members became confused and afraid. Then there was Jeho. He looked at the holographic display and felt overwhelmed. This was way beyond carrying cargo from one station to another. But Sora put a hand on his shoulder. "Start with what you know," she said quietly. "What would you do if this was a normal shipping job?" Jeho thought about it. "I guess I would talk to the other pilots, find out what problems they're having, see how we could help each other." "Then do that," Sora said. So Jeho did something the other commanders had not thought of. He opened a communication channel to all the ships in his fleet. Not just the captains, but everyone. "Hi," he said. "I'm Jeho. I pilot a freight ship called the Wandering Star. I've never done anything like this before, so I'm going to need everyone's help." There was silence for a moment. Then a voice answered. It was Captain Thyella, a butterfly-like Etherian whose people were often ignored because they seemed fragile. "I know those pirates," Thyella said. "My people have been fighting them for years. They always attack the slowest ships first." "What do you think we should do?" Jeho asked. Thyella seemed surprised that anyone wanted her opinion. "Well, if we could make the evacuation ships look faster or more dangerous, the pirates might go after other targets instead." Bin Wu spoke up. "I could send false sensor readings to make cargo ships look like warships." A gruff voice joined the Ao conversation. It belonged to Captain Drak, a bear-like Urson whose people were known for being tough but slow. My ships are slow, but we have thick armor. We could escort the evacuation transports. Soon, crew members from dozens of species were offering ideas. The Chitani had experience with emergency evacuations. The Luminar could create false energy signatures. The Verdani could coordinate multiple operations at once. Jeho listened to all of them. He did not pretend to know more than he did. Instead, he asked questions and let the experts explain their ideas. Slowly, a plan came together. It was not the most elegant plan. It was not the most efficient. But it was a plan that every crew member understood and believed in, because they had helped create it. The simulation began. Cassitor's fleet moved like a military machine, precise and powerful. But when unexpected problems came up, the crews had trouble adapting. They were waiting for orders that did not come fast enough. Delta 9's fleet operated with computer-like efficiency. But when the pirates used unpredictable tactics, the rigid programming could not adjust quickly enough. Some crews shut down entirely rather than act without clear instructions. This's fleet moved with perfect coordination among the Vorthak crews. But the mixed species ships fell behind, unable to keep up with the psychic communication. Jeho's fleet looked chaotic at first. Ships moved in seemingly random patterns. But there was a method to the madness. Each crew was doing what it did best, while other crews covered their weaknesses. When pirates attacked a slow Urson transport, fast Etherian scouts were already in position to provide cover. When the pirates adapted their tactics, the experienced crews shared new countermeasures with everyone else immediately. The second challenge appeared on the holographic displays like a puzzle made of anger and history. Two alien races, the Karathi and the Zalani, had been fighting over the same asteroid belt for 300 years. The rocks floating in space contained rare minerals that both species needed desperately. Arya's voice filled the room as the commanders studied the problem. The Karathi and Zalani are both dying. Their home worlds are running out of the minerals needed to power their medical systems. Thousands die each month while their fleets fight over these asteroids. Your task is to create a lasting peace. General Cassitor looked at the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. Easy enough. We destroy the weaker side and give the asteroids to the winner. Problem solved. That would be genocide, Sora said quietly. Cassitor's yellow eyes fixed on her. The weak deserve their fate. The strong survive. This is the natural order. Commander Unit Delta 9 processed the available data streams. Optimal solution. Divide the asteroid belt based on mineral density and defensive capability. Create a buffer zone to prevent future conflicts. And when they run out of minerals in their assigned sections, Binwu asked, they'll just start fighting again. That will be a problem for future calculations, Delta 9 replied coldly. Swarm leader Thys touched its temple, communing with the hive mind. Both species should abandon their individual identities and join the collective. Unified purpose eliminates conflict. What if they don't want to give up who they are? Jeho asked. Individual wants are irrelevant, Thys said. The greater good requires sacrifice of the self. Jeho looked at the display again. He could see the Karathi ships, sleek and fast like metal sharks. The Zalani vessels were different, bulky, and covered in what looked like crystal growths. Both fleets circled the asteroid belt, occasionally exchanging fire when one side got too close to the other's claimed territory. Can we talk to them? Jeho asked. I mean, actually talk to representatives from both sides? Arya seemed pleased by the question. That can be arranged. However, they have not spoken directly to each other in over 50 years. They communicate only through weapons fire. Then we'll have to give them a reason to try something new, Sora said. The commanders were each given a space to work with delegations from both species. The meeting rooms were separated to prevent immediate violence. General Castor met with both sides separately. He listened to their demands for total victory and their lists of grievances going back centuries. Then, he made his decision. The Karathi have the stronger fleet, he announced. They win the asteroid belt. The Zalani will be relocated to a different system. The Karathi delegation was pleased, but the Zalani became furious. You cannot simply move us from our ancestral territory. We have been mining these asteroids for 1,000 years. Strength decides, Cassator said. If you were stronger, you would win. Since you are weak, you lose. The Zalani stormed out of the meeting. Within hours, their fleet had moved to attack positions. The war was about to get much worse. Commander Unit Delta 9 approached the problem like a mathematical equation. It calculated the exact mineral needs of both species, the extraction rates of different mining operations, and the optimal distribution of resources. Each species will receive 47.3% of the asteroid belt, it announced to both delegations at once. A 5.4% buffer zone will separate your mining operations. Scheduling algorithms will prevent conflicts over shared resources. The plan was perfectly logical. Both sides would get almost exactly what they needed, but neither side was happy. This gives them access to the sacred stones, the Karathi leader complained. Those asteroids have religious significance to our people. The blue crystals belong to us by right of first discovery, the Zalani chief argued. Our ancestors died to claim them. Religious significance and historical claims are not included in optimal resource distribution, Delta 9 stated. Logic must prevail over emotion. Both delegations left angry. They felt like their cultures and beliefs had been dismissed as unimportant data. Swarm leader Thais tried a different approach. It invited both delegations to experience the unity of the hive mind through psychic connection. Feel what it is like. To share thoughts and goals, Thais said. No more misunderstanding. No more conflict. Perfect cooperation. A few members from each species allowed the psychic connection. For a moment, they experienced what it felt like to be part of something larger than themselves. The peace was incredible, but then they realized what it meant. Their individual thoughts, their personal memories, their unique cultures, all of it would be absorbed into the collective. They would still exist, but only as part of something else. You want us to stop being who we are, the Karathi leader said after breaking the connection. Individual identity is the source of all conflict. Thais replied, join us and there will be eternal peace. Both delegations refused. They would rather fight forever than lose themselves completely. Finally, it was Jai-Ho's turn. He sat down with Sora and Binwu to think about the problem. Around them, the other commanders were preparing their final presentations, confident. In their solutions, what do we actually know about these people? Jai-Ho asked. Binwu pulled up cultural files on his translator device. The Karathi are a proud warrior culture. Honor and strength are very important to them. The Zalani are master craftsmen and artists. Beauty and tradition mean everything to them. And they both need the same minerals, Sora added. But why do they need them? Medical equipment, Binwu said, reading from the files. Both species have genetic conditions that require specific mineral supplements to treat. Jai-Ho leaned back in his chair. So they're fighting over medicine. People are dying while their leaders fight over who gets to save their own people first. That's a pretty good summary, Sora said sadly. What if? Jai-Ho started thinking, out loud. What if they didn't need to mine the minerals at all? Sora and Binwu looked at him. What do you mean? Well, I'm not a scientist or anything, Jai-Ho said. But if these minerals are used for medicine, maybe there's another way to make the medicine. Or maybe we could teach them how to create the minerals artificially. Sora's eyes lit up. Synthetic. Mineral production. It's been done before with other elements. Both species are technologically advanced, Binwu added. If they work together, they might be able to solve the medical problems for both their people. It was a crazy idea. Instead of fighting over limited resources, what if they created unlimited resources? Jeho called both delegations together in the same room for the first time in decades. The tension was immediate. Karathi and Zalani representatives sat on opposite sides of the table, glaring at each other. "I know you've been fighting for a long time," Jeho began, "and I know you both have good reasons for wanting those asteroids. Your people are sick, and you need the minerals to help them." Both sides nodded, surprised that someone understood the real issue. "But what if I told you there might be a way for both of your people to get all the minerals they need without fighting over asteroids?" The Karathi leader laughed bitterly. "Impossible. There are only so many rocks in space." "That's true," Jeho said. "But what if you didn't need the rocks? What if you could make the minerals yourselves?" He gestured to Sora, who brought up technical displays showing synthetic mineral production facilities. "Your people are incredible engineers and crafters," Jeho said to both sides. "The Karathi build ships that can survive any battle. The Zalani create art that lasts for centuries. If you worked together, you could probably figure out how to make these minerals in laboratories." The room was quiet. Both sides were thinking. "Even if such technology existed," the Zalani chief said slowly, "why would we trust them to help us?" She pointed at the Karathi delegation. "Because they're not your enemies," Jeho said. "They're parents and doctors and teachers, just like your people. They're watching their children get sick and die, just like you are. They don't want to fight you. They want to save their families." He looked around the room. "The real enemy isn't each other. The real enemy is the diseases that are killing your people while you waste time and resources on war." For the first time in decades, a Karathi representative spoke directly to a Zalani. "Our medical texts mention similar symptoms in your people. Perhaps our researchers could share data." The Zalani chief was suspicious, but she was also desperate. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A joint research project," Sora said, bringing up more detailed plans. "Combine your engineering skills with their crafting techniques. Share medical data. Work together to develop synthetic mineral production." "And the asteroid belt?" the Karathi leader asked. "Keep mining it while you develop the new technology," Jeho suggested. "But share the output based on medical need, not military strength. Save lives first. Argue about territory later." Bin Wu had been quietly working on his communication device. "I've been analyzing your languages. You have more words in common than you realize. Your ancestors might have been related before you colonized different worlds." This revelation stunned both delegations. They had been fighting distant cousins without knowing it. The negotiations took hours. There were arguments and walkouts and moments when violence seemed inevitable. But slowly, carefully, a plan came together. The fourth trial was different from the others. When the holographic display activated, it showed something that made everyone in the room feel sad. A dying world called Kristalla hung in space, its surface covered in beautiful crystal formations that were slowly going dark. "The Kristallans are one of the oldest species in the galaxy," Arya explained. "They are made of living crystal and silicon. For millions of years, they have lived in harmony with their world's molten core. But now the core is cooling. In 6 months, their planet will be too cold to support life. They will all die." The display showed the Kristallans themselves. They looked like walking jewels, beautiful and ancient. Their bodies were translucent, with light flowing through them like liquid starlight. There were only about 50 million of them left, and they were all slowly dimming as their world died. "This is your challenge," Arya continued. "Save an entire species from extinction. But here is the problem. Kristallans cannot survive on any other type of world. They need intense heat and specific mineral compositions that exist nowhere else. Most experts believe this situation is impossible to solve." General Cassator studied the display with his warrior's mind. "How much military resistance do they have?" "They have no weapons," Arya said. "The Kristallans are pacifists. They have never fought a war or built a single combat ship. Cassator smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Then the solution is simple. We find another world with a hot core and relocate the current inhabitants by force. The strong survive, the weak are moved aside. You're talking about conquering someone else's planet, Sora said, her voice shocked. Destroying another civilization to save this one. That is leadership, Castor replied. Making hard choices that others cannot make. Commander Unit Delta 9 processed the available data. Alternative solution. Upload crystalline consciousness, patterns to synthetic bodies capable of surviving in various environments. Preserve their minds while discarding their obsolete physical forms. Binwu looked horrified. But they wouldn't be themselves anymore. You'd be destroying their entire way of life. Their way of life is ending regardless, Delta 9 stated. Adaptation requires sacrifice of inefficient elements. Swarm leader Thys had its own idea. The crystallines should join the collective. Their consciousness will survive as part of our greater mind. They will achieve immortality through unity. But they would lose everything that makes them unique, Jeho said. Their culture, their art, their individual thoughts. Individual identity is temporary, Thys replied. The collective is eternal. All three solutions involved destroying something to save something else. Lives, cultures, or individuality. Something had to be sacrificed. But Jeho was not satisfied with any of these choices. He asked Arya if he could speak directly with the crystallines themselves. That can be arranged, Arya said. But remember, they are dying. Every day they grow dimmer. A communication link opened to Crystalla. The being who appeared on the screen was ancient even by crystalline standards. Its crystal body was still beautiful, but the light inside was fading. This was Elder Shimmer of Deep Waters, one of the last leaders of their people. Greetings, young ones, Elder Shimmer said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. We know why you have come. The warm-blooded races wish to help us, but we fear there is no help to give. Why do you say that? Jeho asked. We have lived with our world for millions of years, Elder Shimmer explained. We are not just on Crystalla. We are part of it. Our bodies are grown from its minerals. Our thoughts are shaped by its electromagnetic fields. We are as connected to this world as your heart is connected to your body. Sora leaned forward. But surely you could adapt to a different environment. Many species have colonized new worlds. Elder Shimmer's light pulsed sadly. We have tried, young engineer. Some of our people volunteered to test life on other worlds. Within days, their crystal matrices began to break down. Within weeks, they simply stopped. We are not like your people. We cannot just move somewhere new. What about artificial environments? Binwu suggested. We could build habitats that recreate the conditions of your world. We have considered this, Elder Shimmer said, but the energy requirements would be enormous. It would take the resources of entire star systems to maintain artificial worlds. For all our people, who would pay such a price for a dying race? The conversation went on for hours. Jeho, Sora, and Binwu learned about crystalline culture, their incredible engineering skills, and their deep spiritual connection to their dying world. The crystallines had been master builders for millions of years. They had shaped entire continents and directed the flow of planetary energy. Wait, Sora said suddenly. You said you've been shaping your world for millions of years. You're not just inhabitants. You're engineers. Yes, Elder Shimmer said, sounding puzzled. We have always worked with the living systems of our world. Then, why can't you build new worlds? Jeho asked. The connection went silent for a moment. Then Elder Shimmer's light began to pulse more brightly. What do you mean, young pilot? Sora was getting excited, her engineering mind racing. You don't need to find worlds like yours. You could make worlds like yours. Artificial planets, but not just habitats. Entire constructed worlds with cores you design and control. Mobile worlds, Binwu added, catching on. Ships the size of planets that you could live on while traveling the galaxy. Elder Shimmer's crystal body was glowing brighter now. We had never thought of leaving our world, but taking our world with us, that is different. It would be the biggest engineering project in galactic history, Sora said, but you have millions of years of experience shaping planets. And there are other species with skills you could use. Jeho could see the possibility forming. The Ursan are master miners. The Chitani understand complex construction projects. The Etherian know how to navigate through space. Every species could contribute something. But the resources required, Elder Shimmer said. The energy, the materials, the time. What if it wasn't just about saving your people? Jeho asked. What if it was about sharing your knowledge? Your people could travel the galaxy, helping other species with planetary engineering projects. You could teach them what you know about living in harmony with worlds. The idea was growing, bigger, not just saving the crystallins, but creating something new, mobile worlds that could bring help wherever it was needed. Other species are facing environmental problems too, Sora said, accessing galactic databases. Climate change, resource depletion, ecological collapse. Your people could help fix these problems while building new homes for yourselves. Elder Shimmer was quiet for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice was full of wonder. You are proposing something unprecedented. Living worlds that travel among the stars. Knowledge shared freely between species. Construction projects that benefit everyone. It would require cooperation on a scale never seen before, Binwu warned. Hundreds of species working together. Yes, Jeho said. But the alternative is watching an entire civilization die and losing all their knowledge forever. When the communication ended, the other commanders were skeptical. Impossible, General Cassator declared. Too many species, too many variables. It will collapse into chaos and warfare. Resource expenditure is inefficient, Commander Unit Delta 9 calculated. Probability of success is less than 12%. Cooperation between so many individuals is inherently unstable, Swarm Leader Thys said. Only unified consciousness can coordinate such complexity. But Arya was intrigued. Show me your plan. Working together, Jeho, Sora, and Binwu outlined their vision. World ships the size of small planets, powered by artificial cores designed by crystalline engineers. Each ship would be home to millions of crystallins, but also to members of other species who contributed to the project. The Ursan would mine the raw materials. The Chitani would manage construction logistics. The Etherian would handle navigation and space traffic control. The Luminar would provide energy systems. The Verdani would create ecological support systems. And the humans? They would do what they did best, help everyone else work together. The first world ship will take 20 years to build, Sora calculated. But once we have one, we can use it as a mobile construction platform to build others faster. The crystallins could visit worlds that need terraforming help, Binwu added. They could share their knowledge while getting the resources they need for more world ships. It's not just about survival, Jeho said. It's about creating something better than what existed before. Arya ran millions of calculations in seconds. The plan was ambitious beyond anything attempted in galactic history. It would require resources from dozens of star systems. It would need unprecedented cooperation between species that had never worked together before. And yet, the potential rewards were enormous. Mobile worlds that could respond to disasters anywhere in the galaxy. Environmental engineering on a scale that could restore damaged planets. A new model for interspecies cooperation. This plan has the highest probability of long-term success, Arya announced, shocking the other commanders. Not just for saving the crystallins, but for advancing galactic civilization. But it's impossible, General Cassator roared. "No one can coordinate that many species." The final trial never came. Instead, Arya called all the commanders to the central chamber of Sanctuary Prime. The ancient AI's hologram appeared before them, but something was different. The golden light seemed warmer, more alive than before. "HFY trials are complete," Arya announced. General Castor stepped forward, his claws clicking on the metal floor. "But we have only faced 3 challenges. You promised more tests." "I have been testing you constantly," Arya said. "Not just during the official trials, but in every moment since you arrived. How you treat your crews, how you respond to unexpected problems, how you react when your methods fail." Commander Unit Delta 9's blue eyes flickered rapidly. "Please specify evaluation criteria and present comparative analysis of performance metrics." "The evaluation is complete," Arya said simply. "I have made my choice." Swarm Leader Thys leaned forward, its insect features tense with anticipation. "Which faction will rule the galaxy? Which philosophy has proven superior?" Arya's hologram turned to look at each commander in turn. "None of them." The silence that followed was deafening. "What?" General Cassator roared. "You must choose." "That was the agreement." "I agreed to choose who should lead," Arya said calmly. "I never agreed to choose from among your 3 factions." Commander Unit Delta 9 processed this statement at maximum speed. Logic error. Alternative leadership candidates were not specified in original parameters. "Were they not?" Arya asked. "I invited representatives from many species, including humanity." All eyes turned to Jay-Ho, who looked as confused as everyone else. "But I'm not a leader. I told you, I'm just a pilot." "Yes," Arya said. "You have told me that many times. Do you know what that tells me about you?" Jay-Ho shook his head. "It tells me that you understand something these others do not," Arya explained. "True leadership is not about wanting power. It is about accepting responsibility when others need your help." General Cassator's voice was dangerous and low. "You cannot seriously suggest that this cargo hauler should rule the galaxy." "You are correct," Arya said. "He should not rule the galaxy. No one should rule the galaxy." Even Sora and Binwu looked confused now. "Then what are you suggesting?" Sora asked. Arya's hologram grew brighter. "I am suggesting something that has never been tried on a galactic scale. True democracy. Every species, no matter how small or weak, gets a voice in their shared future." The 3 fleet commanders exploded into protests. This was not what they had come for. They wanted Arya to declare their faction the rightful rulers, to give them the authority to impose their will on the galaxy. "Impossible!" Castor shouted. "The weak cannot govern. They will make foolish decisions based on emotion and ignorance." "Inefficient," Delta 9 declared. "Democratic processes create delays and suboptimal resource allocation." "Chaos," Thys added. "Individual opinions will conflict and create endless debate." But Arya had been watching and learning throughout the trials. It had seen something that gave it hope. "Look around you," the AI said. "Look at your own crews." The commanders turned to see their subordinates. What they saw shocked them. Engineers from different fleets were still working together on technical problems. Communication specialists were sharing translation protocols across species barriers. Medical officers were comparing notes on alien physiology. Most surprisingly of all, many crew members were not standing with their original fleet commanders. Instead, they had formed mixed groups based on shared interests and complementary skills. "When did this happen?" General Cassator demanded. "It happened when you gave them a choice," Arya said. For the first time in their lives, many of these beings were asked what they thought instead of what they could do. They were treated as individuals with valuable ideas, not just tools to be used. Sora stepped forward, her voice steady and strong. Arya is right. Look at what we accomplished together. We saved billions of lives in the evacuation. We helped two species stop a 300-year war. We found a way to save the Crystallans while helping the entire galaxy. None of that was achieved through force or control, Binwu added, still weak from his injuries but determined to speak. It was achieved through cooperation and respect. Commander Unit Delta 9 was struggling to process what it was seeing. This cooperation is temporary. When material interests conflict, unity will dissolve. Will it? Arya asked. Let us see. The AI activated a galaxy-wide communication system. Suddenly, beings on thousands of worlds could hear what was happening at Sanctuary Prime. The story of the trials, the solutions that had been found, the cooperation that had emerged. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On worlds controlled by the Drakmari, citizens began asking why their problems were always solved through conquest instead of cooperation. On Nexari planets, individuals started questioning why they had to give up their personalities to achieve unity. In Vorthok, space, some began to wonder if the hive mind was the only way to avoid loneliness. But it was the smaller species that responded most strongly. The Etherian, the Chitani, the Luminar, the Verdani, dozens of races that had been ignored or conquered by the Big Three. They began forming their own networks of communication and cooperation. This is dangerous, General Castor said, watching reports of unrest in his territory. You are encouraging rebellion. I am encouraging democracy, Arya replied. And yes, that is dangerous to those who rule through force. Swarm leader Thais was receiving distress signals from the collective. Individual thought is spreading through our networks like a virus. The unity of the hive mind is breaking down. Or evolving, Arya suggested. Perhaps your people are discovering that they can choose to work together without losing themselves. Commander Unit. Delta 9 was experiencing something like panic. Social order requires hierarchy and control. Without these structures, civilization will collapse. Will it? Arya asked. Or will new structures emerge, ones based on consent rather than coercion? The hologram turned to Jeho, who had been listening to all of this with growing amazement. You asked me once why I chose you. Now I will tell you the full truth. Jeho waited, hardly breathing. In 3 days of watching you work on your ship, I learned more about leadership than I had from studying the military records of entire civilizations, Arya said. You treated maintenance robots with courtesy. You shared your food with station. Vermin. You solved problems by understanding them, not by forcing solutions. The AI paused, as if choosing its words carefully. But most importantly, when I offered you power, your first instinct was to refuse it. You understood something that these others never learned. The best leaders are those who lead because others need them to, not because they want to. So you want me to be some kind of galactic president? Jeho asked, still not understanding. No, Arya said firmly. I want you to help build something better than presidents or emperors or collective minds. I want you to help create a system where everyone has a voice, where problems are solved through cooperation, where power comes from service rather than dominance. Sora was nodding, her engineer's mind seeing the possibilities. A galactic democracy, with representatives from every species, no matter how small. With area providing information and resources, Binwu added, but not making decisions for people. With humans helping different species understand each other, Jeho said, finally beginning to see the vision. The 3 fleet commanders were horrified. This was not what they had wanted at all. They had come seeking Arya's blessing for their own dominance. Instead, the AI was proposing to strip away their power entirely. Our fleets will never accept this, General Castor threatened. Will they not? Arya asked. Look at your crews. Ask them what they want. It was a challenge the commanders could not refuse. One by one, they called their subordinates and asked for their loyalty. The results were mixed. Many soldiers and officers remained loyal to their commanders, either from genuine belief or simple fear. But others made different choices. A Drakmari engineer named Kextar spoke for many when he said, "I joined the fleet to protect my people, not to conquer others. If there is a way to keep my people safe without endless war, I want to try it." Nexari technician, designated Unit 47, surprised everyone by saying, "I have experienced individual thought during these trials. I do not wish to return to collective processing. I choose to remain an individual while still cooperating with others." Most shocking of all, some Vorthak drones began speaking with individual voices, saying, "The hive mind brought unity, but also loneliness. We felt connected to many, but known by none. We want to try being ourselves while still helping each other." Not everyone made these choices. Loyalty, fear, and habit kept many crew members with their original commanders. But enough chose differently, to change everything. The three fleets began to split apart. Some ships remained with the traditional commanders, but others broke away to join the growing coalition of species that wanted to try Aria's democratic experiment. It was messy. It was chaotic. It was uncertain. It was also hopeful in a way the galaxy had not seen for thousands of years. As the crisis unfolded, Jeho found himself at the center of something he had never wanted and never expected. Representatives from dozens of species were looking to him for guidance. "I don't know how to run a government," he told them honestly. "Neither do we," admitted Captain.